Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another Thriver TV episode. And I have a really exciting episode today because I'm doing an interview with one of my most favourite people in the whole world. This is a soul sister of mine. She's a colleague. Her name is Janine Staples, and Janine is a scholar. She suffered narcissistic abuse. She's actually she's been a thriver of this community. She's a lady that's come out the other side. And what she's done is she's been spending the last couple of years to bring her knowledge to the masses that she's acquired through her studies, and she's helping people all over the world. She's doing amazing, amazing work in the world. And Janine has done an amazing TED Talk. You can look up that talk, which is Janine Staples. And I've had the absolute pleasure of doing some interviews with Janine in the past. And I was absolutely honoured to be a part of her Cold Crush, which we're going to be talking about today. And the reason why Janine and I are doing this interview today is because I really wanted to introduce Janine to the community. She's an amazing thriver. She's somebody who's incredibly aligned with the incredible transformational work that we do in this community. And I would love you to have some access to her resources. So this is why Janine's here. So Janine, welcome, and thank you for coming on.
Melanie, thank you so much for inviting me to be a guest on Thriver TV. I, like you said, have been following your work for years. I am a Thriver, so I am a member of the Thriver community that you have established, and you have been my coach through narcissistic abuse. And so I just feel so amazed and excited to be here. So thank you for inviting me.
Janine, what I'd like to do is maybe introduce a little bit of your story so that the community, and I know a few of you might have gone into Janine's work already, but if you haven't, just, a little bit about you, Janine, what led you to this journey, what you're passionate about now and why. If you can touch on those things.
Absolutely. So I have always been an overachiever. I have always been a perfectionist. And I have always sort of felt a sense of need around attachment and connection. I wasn't aware until I came into my adulthood that I had an issue called codependency, that I had a disorder in my perception of how love works or how the world works, and how connection and relationship actually function in a healthy way. So I went into adulthood with those blinders on. And what happened to me or with me was that I came into my 30s into a perfect storm. Of course, hindsight is 2020. Like, we can look back now and I can see what was happening. It was a perfect storm that I now know I conduited and I invited in to show me my wounded parts. I was in graduate school, and the people that I love most started to get sick and die.
Wow.
So my father had a massive heart attack. My older sister, who was 8 years older than me, who was like a second mother to me, whom I adored, developed breast cancer. My godfather died. My godbrother died. My grandfather died. Great uncles, great aunties. And I had grown up in a family, Mel, that was very stable. No real divorce, no deaths. I had all of my grandparents, even a great grandparent, until I was in my 30s. It's like I really didn't have a concept of loss. And when those people started to die, I got triggered in all kinds of ways. It sort of erupted this desperation for attachment, for affirmation, for comfort. And it was really the rising up of my codependent tendencies that sort of got triggered and fired off. I also didn't realize at the time that I had a programming, an internal programming that said that I would die without a man.
Wow.
That said that I would be annihilated without a partner, that I would cease to exist if I didn't have that attachment. And so with the deaths of people,
How many people in our community have had that stuff?
That's me. And so, but I wasn't aware. And so I like what you talk about in your work in terms of thinking about how we can begin to have a framework to understand that life is really cooperating with us. It seems really painful. It seems really stressful, and it seems impossible to conceive of in the moment. But I see it now. Life was really cooperating with me and bringing me opportunities and events that would help me to see the holes and the gaps and the voids that I had. And so while I was experiencing all these literal deaths, I was experiencing what I talk about in my TED Talk, a figurative death, several figurative deaths. I was dying 1,000 deaths. Imagining myself as sort of vacuous, sort of just drifting without attachments. And so it made me blood in the water for narcissists. Blood in the water. They came like sharks. They came like sharks. And the first narcissist that I dated two, just like you. I didn't marry them, but I dated two, seriously dated. And the first person that I dated, actually, I didn't know this at the time, but he was engaged to another woman, living with her. And some of the patterns started to emerge, but I didn't know the pattern. So the pattern for a classic sufferer of NPD is idealize and then devalue and then discard. Those are the three steps. We know this now. And so I was sucked in with this love bombing. There was this adoration, this affection, these gifts, this time, this attention. And when I was losing a parent and losing a sibling and losing, cousins and all these deaths, I was burying people. That's a very, very traumatic series of like sequential events to have like back to back to back to back. I was ill-equipped. And I was also during this time entering into the professorate. And anyone who is in academia knows being a tenure line professor, I'm a woman of color. I was younger than everybody in my department. It was already hard. Like it's already difficult, that level of career. But I'm not a quitter because of that perfectionism and because of that like drive to get it right and to be a conqueror and to like overperform. So I would not quit my job. I would not like figure out ways to like reduce my stress. I didn't pay attention to what my body was calling for, what my soul was screaming for. I was pushing. And so then when the idealization phase of that first narc started to wane and he was easing into the devaluing phase,
yeah.
I didn't, as we know, I didn't know what happened. I didn't know what hit me. I was already very weak, very vulnerable. I did not have an interior constitution. I was full of holes.
Yes.
And so I became desperate. And I would pine because I looked at his sort of devaluation and his verbal abuse, his criticisms of me as another death. It's one of the things I talk about in my TED. It was a figurative death. And so there was this pending separation. I could feel it. I could see it. And everything in me that was sick and that was underdeveloped and that was wounded, that was a disowned part, screamed out to latch on to that narcissist. And the way that I got out of that first relationship, Mel, I had to leave that state. I had to leave.
Yes.
I had to pack up and leave. It was the only way I could see it. And I had a perfect guise. I said to myself, well, I just want another job. I just want a change of scenery. So nobody knew what was really happening, that I was escaping. Because even though I didn't know what hit me with that first narc, I knew that it could cost me my career, my sanity, my self-respect. And I knew that I had to get out. I just didn't have a name for it. So when I left and I established a new life and a new career and I started over from scratch, I was still experiencing a lot of literal deaths in my family. I lost some friendships. But what I decided to do was really dig deep into personal development. So I got lots of books. I went to seminars. It was a lot of thinking work. It was a lot of like conscious cognitive processing that I was attempting to. I found a great therapist and I thought I'm going to figure out why I keep having these crying spells. why I'm having these anxiety attacks, why I'm clearly holding on to someone who is not worthy of me. But I can't stop. I now know that it was a peptide addiction. I now know that I was in pain in my body, that I had residual pain body that was unhealed. I just didn't know it at the time. So I went full force into finding resources for myself, full force into therapy and books or whatever. I didn't know until I met my second NARC. And thank God, now that I've gone through Thriver, the Thriver course, my last NARC. But I thought what I thought was all those books that I read and all that talk therapy that I did got me over it. And so when the second NARC came, and he swooped in again with gifts and that idealization, that love bombing. I mean, he was talking about marriage within the first 30 days. And it was a powerful, powerful seduction. And of course, like a true codependent, I thought, this is what I've been praying for. This is what I've been wanting and longing for. This is clearly my soulmate. Yes. Because he knows me so well. And because he's so attuned to me and he's so romantic. Look at these grand gestures and, the whole kit and caboodle. I didn't realize that all of the therapy and all the books I read did not heal me. Yeah. They did not heal me. They gave me a surface facade that it was like a mask that I could hide behind. But the roots of all those voids and wounds, they were still in effect. They weren't healed. I hadn't gone into my body. I had not understood what it meant to work with my subconscious. I didn't even know what that was about. And it wasn't until 2012, that was a turning point for me. That second NARC, that relationship, I found myself. So then my father had died, my sister had died, my godfather had died, my godbrother had died, grandparents dead, great aunties, great uncles dead, cousin dead. And this second NARC, I found myself in a puddle on the floor, crying, suffering such terrible anxiety attacks that I couldn't stop shaking. I had trouble breathing. You talk about having adrenal failure. I didn't have adrenal failure, but I had adrenal fatigue for sure. It was difficult for me to talk to people. It was difficult for me to go outside. I had to will myself and force myself to do my work. And I started to take on the effects and the narrative structures of the abuser. I started to really criticize myself, devalue myself. I started to condemn myself. I started to beat myself up. So I was a puddle on the floor. And I thought, oh my God, but I've read all these books and I've gone to therapy and I'm jogging and working out and I'm eating right. And all of the things that people tell you, and I've got friends and we go out and I go to parties and why am I not healed? Why am I not better? And I've got a master's degree, a bachelor's degree, a doctoral degree. I've got all this stuff. I've got a house. I'm here. I'm crying in my own house. Why am I not healed? Why is this happening? What is going on? There was enough of me still in my right mind that I could ask those questions. What is going on? But I was a puddle. I was weak. And I still don't know to this day, Melanie, how I found your work. I don't even remember. I just know I must have Googled something like anxiety, disorder, panic, and I found your work. I started to read. In the meantime, I had been doing my own research. So I had been getting some glimpses of understanding of what was happening, just glimpses of understanding, because I was doing work on Black women's terror and love. And I started to read your description of narcissist and codependence. And I'd heard those words before because I am a scholar and I read a gazillion, thousand, trillion books. And the pieces started to come together. They just started to click, click, click. And I was like, oh my God, that's me. That's me. That's me. That's me. And that's how my journey started. That's how I came to realize that I needed to heal through the soma, through the flesh body. that I needed to go into my subconscious. And I started to develop my own methodology, which I do now. I will be teaching in a Supreme Love course. It's Supreme Love methodology. It's very similar to Quantum Freedom methodology. And just that paradigm shift to get me out of that cognitive frame and into a somatic frame, it just made all of the difference.
Yes.
So that's the long story, but that's what my story is.
Wow. So how long ago was that, Janine?
It was just 4.5 years.
Yeah.
Not that long.
Yeah.
Not that long.
No.
But this is the thing, and this is what I want to say to your community and mine. When you start to do the work at the quantum level, when you do the work in your body, like in your soma, it doesn't take a decade. It doesn't take 20 years. It takes minutes, weeks, months. It's like you just keep clearing and clearing and clearing and clearing and clearing and clearing and clearing.
Yes.
Once you know the methodology and the process and have support.
Yes.
Being a part of the Thriver community was incredibly life-saving for me. And that's why I want to build the Supreme Love Project, because I want more community. We were just talking, Melanie and I were just talking before we started the interview about how you need to train people to do what you do.
Yes.
And I am one of those people who's sort of like under you coming out to support this effort, because it's life-changing and life-saving.
Yes. And it is. It's the shift our world needs that we're both very, very passionate about, is rather than doing life from the outside in, that we are that empowered, incredible, creative source that can be life-affirming and life-creating and life. We have the ability to heal what we haven't been able to heal previously because we didn't have the tools to do it. And it's exciting times, because we're not just, you and I are not just, and a lot of us like us, we're not just passionate about getting ourselves up and out. We're really passionate about the world can change from the inside out model.
It's true. It's true. When I think about the ways that people I see regularly do the work of what's called social justice, it has a lot to do with external talk. Like, so we talk about how people are cruel and how people are abusive, how people are undermined. And it's external. It's about, like, let's create legal structures and public policies to mandate the spaces that we have to be in together. And let's do that external work. Let's create an exterior space that is politically correct, that makes it sort of difficult to be mean, to be divisive, to be abusive. And some of those policies and laws actually do work, but they won't cure anything. They won't heal our world. They will not heal our world. And we know that from the state of affairs that we're in right now. I mean, we have all of these social justice movements. We have all of these policies and laws in place to make us be nice to each other and to help us to see each other. But that's all external. Unless we do healing and shift changing from the inside out, we won't be able to have healthy, honest, transparent, interdependent, compassionate, empathetic, deeply respectful relationships with other people. I mean, there's no law or public policy that can inspire that. That's internal work that we're each responsible for.
You couldn't have put that better. And that's why I love having conversations with you, because when you talk, I just get goosebumps all over me. Because you speak such powerful, powerful truth. Like, you are so aligned, sister, with the stuff you tap into. You know, you really do. And that's, you know, you're so true. And it's so true. It's the stuff Neale Donald Walsch talks about too, that, you know, behavior comes from consciousness. It comes from belief. It doesn't matter how much punishment or sanction or rules or guidance or reading or... nobody's actually going to change how they show up in the world, how they are or aren't triggered, how they respond, how they react, until the wounds are healed.
That's right. That's right. You know, there's a blog post on my website, JanineStaples.com or SupremeLoveProject.com, and it's Why Your Positive Affirmations Don't Work. That's the title of the blog. Why your positive affirmations don't work.
Wow. I
because so
love
many
it.
women were like me and like you, right?
Oh, yeah.
From before this quantum freedom healing, this or supreme love healing
Yep.
paradigm, and it was just about like reading these books, looking at someone else's list of affirming things to say,
Yes.
something like, I am worthy of love, I am beautiful, I
Yeah.
am powerful,
Yes.
I am important. And I would say these positive affirmations because that was the thing to do. You say them over and over again. Now, there is some truth to the power of declaration. However, the power of declaration hangs on a root of belief.
Yes.
If we are saying something that we don't believe, that is not registered in our core as a truth,
Yes.
we're actually probably re-traumatizing ourselves. Because when I say, I'm powerful, I'm beautiful, I'm worthy of love, but I don't really believe it, I'm actually offending and disrespecting myself. I'm actually hurting myself more.
Oh, yeah. Gosh,
Do
that's true. And as you were talking about affirmations, I love what Joe Dispenza talks about. Bruce Lipton does too, where it can actually bring on schizophrenia. And the reason is, like, a really, really good example of that is if you have an inner core belief, unless I get other people to love and approve of me, I can't survive. And then you're
Yes,
trying to tell yourself, I love and approve of myself. That inner survival program is going, no, 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 no. It's got to come from out there, because if it doesn't come from out there, you're going to be annihilated. And you're actually butting heads with
that's
yourself
right.
so much that you can
Right.
tear yourself into more shreds by doing
That's right.
that.
That's right. That's right. And
It's like trying to
there
walk
are
across the
so,
road and your survival program feels like you're on a tightrope between buildings 30 meters up, and
that's
you're
right.
trying to force yourself to walk across the road. Your survival program's not having it.
No. And that basic truth is missed by thousands and thousands, maybe
Oh,
even millions of women. And there's such a huge wave in the self-help community, and it's very public and very broad, that teaches these erroneous frameworks that have captured the attention of women and keep us in a spin cycle of pain. And we feel worse and worse and worse about ourselves with each passing year, with each passing
yes.
decade. There are women, and I know this is true for you, Melanie, there are women in the Supreme Love Project who are in their 60s, 70s, who are just saying, who am I? How did I get here? What am
Yes.
I doing
Yes.
with my life? How did I attract this slew of abusive, caustic, cruel people? I've been saying my positive affirmations. I've been going to all the self-help workshops. I've been seeing a therapist for 25 years, and I feel such pain for our sisters who've been sold this bill of goods. And I don't think that people are, I wouldn't indict anyone and say that they're intentionally
No, gosh,
misleading,
no.
but I
No.
think that they just don't realize and don't know that telling a woman she should know better, or she should feel better, or she ought to have this figured out by now, or whatever, that's shaming.
Yes.
That's a practice of shaming.
Yes.
It's very slick, but it's shaming.
Yes.
And when a woman is shamed that way, just as a very subtle undercurrent over years and years and years, by the time she's 70 years old, she doesn't know what hit her. She's curious and confused and saying, but I've done what they said that I should do,
Yes.
and I still don't have this figured out. And I want to figure it out. And there's a level of exhaustion. There's a level of self-loathing. There's a level of shame and brokenness that can come out of those years and years and years that, to me, is criminal. It's criminal. And we can do better.
Oh, God, we can do better. And I love your passion on that, because I feel exactly the same, that we have had a codependent, very
Yeah.
dependent society set up where we're sick and alive and we're dependent. and we're still carrying our inner trauma and our wounds, which haven't as yet been healed and loved back to wholeness. So therefore, we're seeking answers outside of ourselves. And then we're stuck in this management system of whereby, which is what all quick fixes are. We didn't know it was. That I'm going to do that thing that will distract me enough from my inner wounds for a time to get relief, but they're never actually healed. So then they're coming back, and because I've had this inner identity screaming for me in this anxiety and this depression, saying, rather than turning that way, turn inwards with ferocity and devotion and determination. Because we were doing that with everything outside of ourselves. I know I was a self-help junkie.
Me too.
Junkie. I was an exercise junkie. I was a well-being junkie. I was a yoga junkie. I was an everything junkie, because that would just, all it was doing was actually relieving me from myself, giving me tools to manage. But what's the point of management tools? The point is, you're right, the older we get, the worse we're getting, because we have never turned inwards with that fierce ferocity to say, I love you enough that I'm going to accept every broken, unhealed, underdeveloped part of myself, and I am going to do whatever it takes, and we've got the quantum tools to do it now, to love you back to wholeness. Those parts of me that never have been, the parts of myself that my ancestors hadn't been, that the women before me hadn't been, that epigenetically we've all been carrying this pain body, collective trauma in our bodies, which have said, we're not okay, we're too much of this, we're too little of that. You know, for 5,000 years, we have been disconnected from our sovereign, wholesome power. Women have been.
Yes. And Melanie, there are two things I've learned in the last 4 or 5 years of doing my own research and following your work as my coach. It's that I didn't know what self-avoidance really was. And I also had no idea what boundaries really are.
Yes.
Those two key ideas eluded me as a codependent, eluded me.
Yes.
I did not realize what you're talking about, like understanding like my ancestral inheritance, understanding sort of the ways that I would check out and dissociate, that I would lie to myself, to other people, that I would cover up, that I would not deal with a pain point. There were so many ways I had developed these really powerful, complex practices of self-avoidance. Like I was the best self-avoider that you could imagine. And so many of us as women are socialized into self-avoidance because we're socialized to disassociate from ourselves, to not know ourselves. We don't even really understand what it means, what you just said, to be with myself and to say to the wounded part of myself, I am going to be love, approval, and connection to you, for you. We're not taught that. I avoided myself so much. I literally just in the past 5 years have figured out what I like, what I don't like, what I want, what I don't want, what I need, what I don't need. I just figured this out, like as a grown up, and it's been a journey. It's been an experience. I've had to learn to give myself permission to like what I like and not like what I don't like. I've had to learn to practice my voice, speaking up for myself. I've had to learn to provide myself with respect. So if I, for example, don't like the way I feel in someone's presence, I don't like the way they're looking at me, I don't like the way that their body energy or language is towards me, I would in the past avoid, if I felt like a little bit of tension or ickiness, I would avoid myself, and I didn't have boundaries. So I would just be the good girl.
Yes.
We're social. I would just be the good girl. I would want to be polite. I would not want to mess up the possibility of external affirmation, which I so desperately needed as a codependent.
Correct.
To be seen, to be visible, to be credible, to be okay,
Yes.
to be deemed worthy. When I learned how to meet with myself and respect myself and put myself first and establish and honor appropriate boundaries for me, I learned how to say, thank you so very much for your time. I need to excuse myself. I couldn't say that before.
Yes.
I didn't know what it meant to have physical or emotional boundaries. Yes. It's a wonder, Melanie. I'll tell you this, and I'll say this to the community. As women, also, many of us are raised to be just real badasses. I mean, we can raise kids, we can start businesses, we can get degrees, we can get our own houses, we can travel the world, we can do all these amazing things. And there's a lot of external performance of strength and power. There's this external performance, but that doesn't necessarily mean that internally we're strong or powerful.
No, not at all.
Because if anyone were to look at me from the outside looking in, they would not guess that I was so muddy in my middle, that I was so weak and disconnected from myself.
Yes.
But I'm here to say to women, if you can't sleep at night, if you find yourself being a doormat, if you feel desperate for attention and for approval, if you cannot honor your word to yourself, if you don't know how to even make a promise to yourself, if you don't know what I mean when I talk about boundaries being physical and emotional, you need to get some help. You need to do some healing.
And I want to talk about these two amazing projects that you've got coming up. And one that I had the absolute joy of doing, just an amazing, scintillating interview with you. You asked the best questions.
Great.
So let's talk about, because this is, I would love the community to know about what you're doing, because you are a graduate master at this stuff now. You are really rocking this stuff and
I've done the work.
People. You've done the work, and you're passionate and you're powerful. So let's talk about these projects.
Okay. Well, Cold Crush is going to be coming in December 2017. We'll probably run it again in 2017 to make sure people have all the tools that they need. It's a multi-day teleseminar where I have audio interviews with people from all over the world who are focused very sincerely on building bridges to intimacy, emotional intimacy, so that we as women predominantly, and there are some men in the community, as I know there are some men in your community, predominantly though as women, can learn what it means to actually crush and melt some of the iciness and the coldness that we have built around our hearts. We are really, so many of us, just steeped in a tundra, like just blocks. Like,
we
don't know how to talk. Because see, boundaries are not barriers. I had to learn that too.
Totally.
I used to think because I had a wall up that I had good boundaries. They're not the same. Barriers and boundaries are not the same. Boundaries hedge me in for order, for safety. Barriers close me off for isolation and death. They're not the same. And so Cold Crush is about me talking to a community of experts. Melanie, of course, is like headliner. To get some skills, some perspectives, some methods, some meditation, some modalities to help women to become really conscious about the ways that they've erected barriers that are blocking them from being intimate. And when I talk about Cold Crush, Mel, I'm talking specifically about barriers to intimacy across the board. It's not just about a romantic partner.
Absolutely.
It's about the intimacy that you can have with your mom, with your dad, with your best friend, intimacy that you can have with your sister, a sibling, especially intimacy that you can have with yourself. Those two things, self-avoidance that I was doing before, disassociation that I was doing before, and just a total lack of boundaries, just violating myself over and over and over again, violation after violation after violation. Violations are violent, is what I say in the community.
Absolutely.
I needed to learn how I was self-avoiding and lacking boundaries and disassociating because I was afraid of intimacy. And Cold Crush is about opening our eyes to that taking the blinders off of that and providing some supports to really crush that cold, to just melt it, melt it, melt it, so that we can start to let ourselves in and trust ourselves and also potentially other people. That's what it's about.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that because the Thriver journey is all about that. It's about being a radiant, magnetic being connected to life, letting life flourish and nourish you. And being able to say yes or no and discern, show up and be a fully actualized adult in your body. And it changes everything. So I love that. And you've
Yeah,
got some
it
amazing
changes
people getting connected with this project. Like,
yeah,
you've got a great lineup coming. It's going to be so exciting.
yeah. It's going to be great. And also, because we have the closed Facebook group, people will be able to connect with most of the guests in that closed space to ask questions privately. They don't have to go out on all of Facebook or all of Twitter or any place else to get some real support, some answers to some questions. I mean, you'll hear when you hear Melanie and I interview, they're meaty interviews. I mean, we really go in for 45 minutes. We go deep. They're not surfacey or flighty or shallow. I mean, we're going deep. And what I found is that after that, people need a place to go, to ask questions, to create concerns where they can get some feedback. And so we'll have that all ready too.
And people will be able to do that when we get this up on the blog and Thriver TV. If you've got any questions or some deepening that you want from this interview together, that's going to be...
Absolutely.
That is going to be just so awesome. So your other project, let's talk about that.
Yeah. So the Supreme Love Project is producing a course, and that's going to be my first online course. I'm going to offer it in the spring of 2017. I'm thinking March will be our start date. So we'll be taking enrollments for that come the first of the year. For people who want, it is a tuition-based course. One of the things I do for the Supreme Love Project is I give away about 80% of what I do for free. So the video series, the blogs, some of the webinars, they're all free. The course is for people who really want to learn the methodology and work with me personally, with a community of like-minded people, and that costs time and money. And so it will be tuition-based, which I will tell people about on the Supreme Love Project.com closed page. And that's where you're going to learn the steps to understanding how to create an interior constitution so that you can sort of like clean up that muddy middle that I was just talking about, where you're really not solid on the inside. There's going to be a space for learning what boundaries really mean and how to create them. Healthy boundaries, respective, subjective boundaries that are good for you. There's going to be also really solid teaching and coaching on how to develop narrative structures and learn narrative structures that allow you to communicate really effectively with other people, particularly if you're coming out of codependency. Sometimes I didn't know that I didn't know how to talk. I didn't know how to talk. Like I didn't know how to speak to people in ways that could help me to support my practice in anchoring myself as a codependent and like standing in my own ground. And not only externally, but that internal conversation that I needed to have with myself. Like when you were talking about, Melanie, about learning how to be love and approval to myself, I needed a language to speak to me, that wounded part of me. I needed words to say that would help me to learn compassion to myself, learn respect to myself, learn peace, learn to calm myself, to really self-parent and self-partner. Yes. So we're going to do that work. There will also be a corporation of modalities around manifesting newness of abundance, of breaking out of that old hyper-masculinist framework that is based in separation, that's based in lack, that's in poverty.
And competition.
That's it. So we're fear-based, totally. So we're going to work on shifting that perception and coming back into a goddess, warrior, servant, queen sensibility.
Oh, I love that.
that is abundance based,
Yes.
and it's about manifesting abundance. It's about reorienting ourselves to understand ourselves as a conduit for divine energy, for
Yes.
God, Christ consciousness. And so we're sharpening our instruments so that we can receive and flow. So the Supreme Love Course, it's a 6-month experience that is going to just practice building Supreme Lovers and doing Supreme Love methodology for healing.
Wow, that is so exciting. And I
Yeah.
just highly, highly, highly recommend that the community get onto that. And as Janine said, she's incredibly generous, just as this community is too,
Oh,
with
yeah.
tons and tons of free resources. And, for people to wanting to go further, that's what my programs are about too. The people that,
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
really want to get into that intense work. And that's what Janine's going to be offering in the future. And you've got great resources going already. And this is the sort of work, ladies, and guys too, like you said, you've got guys in your community
I
as
do.
well. We're all
I do.
coming into heart, self-actualized, self-empowered ways of being, of co-creative consciousness, where we be it for it to come. That's what our world's shifting into. This is this shift over that we're coming out of after 5,000 years. And
Yes.
it's huge. We're in huge times, and it's so exciting because I tell you, when you step into this paradigm and start living your life from that center, the
Yes.
magic, the joy, and you realize it was the only thing that was ever going to gratify you.
That's all. That's all. The level of peace. Oh my God. I feel like I could cry. The the level of peace and calm that I know now and that I am able to embody and tap into is beyond my wildest dreams. I did not realize how much I was invested in my own sickness, in my own demise.
Yes.
I had no idea that there was really a different way to live, that I could live without anxiety coursing through my veins every single day. I came to a place, Melanie, where I thought that was just normal. Like, that's what it means to be a woman. That's the way that it's going to be. I'm just going to be this nervous wreck. I'm going to feel uncertain. I'm going to feel jittery. I'm going to feel anxious. I'm going to feel desperate. I'm going to feel confused. I'm going to feel needy. I'm going to feel, obsessive. I'm going to feel this pining all the time. All the time. I had no idea that there was another level of consciousness that I could develop, that I could heal, that I could do clearing in my soul and in my soma, and up level 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 until I began to just stand in my skin in stillness, with calm, with certainty, with peace, with contentment, just feeling satisfied. And now that I know, I will never go back.
Oh,
Never.
No going back.
There's no going back.
And to know it's actually a natural state and everything else was desperately unnatural. I never knew it existed either. I had no idea. And my whole framework, which I know so many women who I believe we've all come from a deep cellular lineage. And I believe that what happened 5,000 years ago, where we were all dismantled from our connection with ourselves, and from that time on, women were told, don't connect to the earth, don't meditate, don't go in your bodies, do not feel, get out of your head, do not demonstrate any connection to yourself, the earth, the ground, your earthiness, your sovereign right to be a priestess within your own body. Disconnect, because if you don't disconnect, you're going to be killed.
That's right.
And it created this massive fracture that was just so horrific that went through all of our sisters and all places. And now finally we are coming home to being in our bodies in a healthy way, unwounded, untraumatized,
Yes.
where we can actually know what it is to be love.
Ah. Not to be loved, to be loved.
Love. And that was the purpose of women, to be that anchor of love and to bring love that would calm the masculine, which
Yes.
would bring the masculine into balance.
Yes.
To bring love and activation and creation and causes and power in a balanced way from love and wholesomeness and collective oneness, rather than fear and pain and separation and all of the drama and fighting over resources and all of the destruction and devastation and annihilation and rape and all of those things that have happened, not just to women but to our entire planet and to mankind. And we are now learning that one person at a time, when we free ourselves of our wound and our traumas that have been epigenetically a part of the human experience for thousands of years, that we're going to come back into a love and a wholeness that you and I both know now as organic.
That's right.
A beingness that we don't have to fight for. We don't have to keep reading and learning and going through that information or that blog post or that seminar or that practice even to try and fix the trauma. We're just getting rid of trauma and becoming love.
That's right. That's right. And this being is me. It's just what you're saying. This is me. This is me.
Correct.
So the way that I was before was me in the most fractured, wounded, sick, sad, pained iteration.
Yes.
That was me.
Yes.
That was me. That was me beat up.
Yes.
That was me bruised. That was me confused and terrified. One of the reasons I talk about relational and social terrors, I realize that the term is hyperbolic. It's a little bit dramatic. And some people say, why are you using that terminology? Because it is terrifying.
It's true.
To endure the kind of emotional neglect, verbal abuse, psychological trauma, physical battery that is in individual experience and collective experience of the feminine. That is terrifying. It's terror.
Absolutely.
And when I was in that muck and that mire, that was me. That was me. I didn't realize, though, that this truer, bigger, better, more powerful version of me existed.
Yes.
That there was a graduated sense that I could heal my body's somatic pain. And I could reprogram my survival programs and reimagine my defense mechanisms to really kind of like soothe them so they're almost gone, and develop into the realest, highest reality of who I am. And I say that, Melanie, because I want to be clear. I'm thinking about so many women that I know in community who say things like, they're also picking up frameworks from like a pet theology or a masculine frame, where if they feel anxious or they hear a voice that's self-loathing, or they hear a hypercritical voice, or they hear and feel the sensations of a sense of loathing or a sense of unworthiness, they get this idea, they hear from someone else and say, well, that's not really me. That's not really me. Or someone else telling them, that's not really you. Ignore that, ignore that, ignore that. That's a mistake.
Big time.
That's a mistake. Because those are your wounded parts. Those are your unhealed parts that are vying for your attention. That is you. That's you. That's the more we reject.
Oh gosh.
The more that we push away.
Yes.
That version of ourselves, that version that's weeping, that's crying, that's questioning, that's needing, that's obsessing, that's pining, that's anxious, that's depressed, that's violent, that is gossipy, catty, mean-spirited, whatever it is, that part of you, you're pushing away and say, oh, well, that's not really me. I only acted that way because she triggered me, or I only acted that way because he was abusing me, or only acted that. No, 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 no. I want to say it to women. I had to say to myself, and Melanie, you said to me, you said to women in Thriver community, that is you.
Yes. Yes.
That is,
yes.
Those are your unhealed parts. Those are your wounded parts that you have disowned,
yes,
that you have disregarded, and they will continue to mount up with strength and power the more they are affected.
Oh, yes.
That little part of you will start to run your life. That little part of you will for damn sure get your attention.
Absolutely. And you know what? When it doesn't, when it's bringing the people that represents those situations, and the anxieties and the traumas are erupting, and eventually what ends up happening is it will curl up in a corner, go catatonic, and you will be that manically depressed you can't even get out of bed.
Can't.
Because that little child's curled up in the corner and he's dying.
Dying in desperate need for the highest iteration of you to come inside to your body, into your soma, into your flesh, and commune with compassion, with authority from your adult center, from your goddess, warrior, servant, queen, adult center, with that narrative of peace, of compassion, of balm, of healing, of attention, of love, that gathering up that only you can do for you. That is what is necessary from the inside out. And if you don't do that for that part of you that you're dismissing, you're saying, oh, well, that's the devil. Or you're saying, oh, well, or you're saying,
scapegoat.
Scapegoat. Or you're saying, well, that's my mother's voice. That's not really me. Or that's, my boyfriend's voice telling me I'm worthless. That jerk that I kicked out. Claim everything inside of you, because what I learned is you have no authority to evict what you do not own.
Correct.
You can't.
No, you can't. You can't.
Claim it all.
You can't. And you know what? Love does not walk away.
No.
Love turns towards.
Yes. And practicing being love, approval, and security to yourself means turning in, not walking away. Turning in, not looking away. Going in, even when it's hard. Being vigilant in your commitment to you. That's what it really is about, and that's what it really means. When someone said to me, when I was at one of my lowest points, a therapist actually said to me, Janine, you just have to love yourself. You just have to love yourself. And at that point, I was almost catatonic. Those little wounded parts of me were balled up in tight spaces. Mad and angry, bitter, fearful, resentful. So when I heard those words, you just have to love yourself. Mel, I had no idea what that meant. I said, what do you mean? And so there's so much in the self-help.
It's like more baths and more oils, or do I get a massage?
That's right. Women confuse that mantra, love yourself, with self-care. So we think, oh, I have to love myself. That means I need to get a makeover. I need to get a massage. I need to go on a diet, or I need to go shop, or I need to go out and get a new boyfriend, dump this old one and get a new one. Okay, so we have these ideas of what it means to love oneself. That is not what it means to love oneself. To love yourself means to come home to yourself.
Oh, gosh.
That's what it means.
Oh, gosh. It is to turn inwards and open your body and breathe and be there with unconditional love. And it's like, a little wounded one. Is it any wonder? Is it any wonder you are feeling that? Is it any wonder you're carrying these wounds and these traumas from your mother and your mother's mother? And is it any wonder that because I haven't come to you, you've been seeking false substitutes outside of yourself for somebody else to come and take this pain away, but they've never been doing that. They've just actually been bringing evidence of what you haven't yet healed back to wholeness.
That's right. That's right. That's all it is. It's evidence, evidence, evidence of what has not been healed. Evidence of what needs your attention. It's a mirror. It's a flashlight, blinking lights and mirrors.
Yeah.
And learning to read the signs, to understand I had to learn to understand the patterns of my own life.
Yeah.
And I tell you, this is one of the reasons it was so wonderful for me to have a coach, because my patterns to me didn't make any sense. And I want to know if you're in the same way as I was. I didn't date all narcissists.
Yeah,
Some guys I
neither did
dated
I.
were great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same.
There were just the two.
Yes.
And so because I didn't see the rhyme or the reason,
Yes.
I felt perplexed by my own life
Yes.
until that second narcissist hit me so hard, I had to stop and be still. And I knew at that bottom point that all of the things that you just listed, Melanie, that I thought were proof of me loving myself wouldn't work. So when I was in a puddle on the floor, crying, and weeping, I knew that shopping was not going to be loving myself. I knew that getting my hair done over is not going to be loving myself. Buying new makeup, it's not going to be loving myself. I knew that all of the things I was thinking were proof of me loving myself were not it. And that was love giving me enough proof and evidence so that I could say beyond a shadow of a doubt that none of those things were me loving myself.
Yes.
There was no room left for doubt.
Yes.
I knew.
Yes. Because none of those quick fixes were helping anymore.
No.
When you get to that point where nothing is working and life cannot go on as you normally did, surviving your own wounds with tactics, that's where I hit.
No.
There was no survival left. It was nowhere else to go. Everything else was dismantled. And as you were saying, all of those deaths in your family, everything was being dismantled on the outside. And then the narcissist on top of that. When I love Buddha's little fable, where three men went to him and they said, well, where do we find my divinity? And Buddha said, well, you go to the top of the mountains or to the bottom of the oceans or into the most farthest away nook and cranny on the planet. So they all went running around looking, and they came back and they said, we haven't found any divinity. And Buddha said, well, I knew that you would have to exhaust every resource before you actually went to the only place it was, which is inside you.
That's right. And that's what life does. Life is on our side. I had to figure out. Yeah.
So much. I actually had a beautiful mini conversation in one of my forums last night, the Night Forum, with a moderator, and she was asking some questions, and she said, well, I'm triggered about this, and then I said, well, you've just triggered me the way and we both just said to each other, and dear love sister, because she said, I'm sorry you're triggered. And I said, I'm sorry you're triggered. And then I said to her, you know what? Actually, we're not. At soul level, we are both in total joy that we've just brought something up for each other to heal. And there is only love here.
That's right. And that perspective has been afforded to you because you allowed your consciousness to be shifted, to go higher up into that level of awareness, higher up, so that you could perceive that situation for exactly what it was, which was a gift, an opportunity. Absolutely. So when you're with someone who gets under your skin, who gets on your nerve, who triggers you, who causes you to feel insecure or wants you to lash out, when you graduate in your consciousness, you can begin to see in that uncomfortable or disaffecting moment what it is. It's a gift. It's what we were saying just now. Life is on your side.
Yes.
And I say that being a woman who hit a rock bottom and had to learn, even at that rock bottom, that God is love, God is light, God is life. Life is on your side.
Oh,
all of that, all of those relationships, all of those triggers are being brought to you as gifts to show you the state of the inside so that you can make a decision to go in and be with yourself when you feel lit up
Absolutely, absolutely. And when you have this framework, it is amazing because, as she said, something I said made her feel intelligent and left behind. And then she said, "Oh my God, that was a
Mm.
program I got from my father, the way he used to speak to me. And I always felt like I was dumb and I got left behind." So she's like, "Thank you so much for giving me that trigger." And then I said to her, "I'm actually feeling judged for just being myself," which was
Mm.
still another layer of trauma in my being, that as
Yes.
I evolve and I expand and doing the work I'm doing in the world,
Yes.
it's that low level fear of annihilation for expanding and being myself in a big way. So, that came up in my experience, whether it be from her or somebody else saying, if you release this, you can go up to the next level. And
Yes.
so there was only but just amazing love for her, for how she communicated with me, and amazing love from me for how I communicated with her. And
Yes.
there was even a deeper love from Matt.
Yes. Yes. If you can see that situation for what it is, and then if you have the capacity, if you've been building the capacity, that emotional muscle to press through it and recognize the trigger as a gift and do some healing and name it appropriately, you can get to the next side of love. You can see it just over the horizon if you can just move over that hurt and heal that wound of feeling judged for being yourself, or feeling rejected because you're not good enough, not smart enough,
Yeah,
stupid, dumb.
yeah,
Healing that leftover wound provides a space for deeper connection. Because what I didn't realize for me, Mel, was when I was full of holes and my wounds were like fissures, just cysts seeding with like disease. Um, I limited my capacity to love sincerely. I was
absolutely.
deeply limited.
Well, so much energy is tied up in surviving your wounds. There's
Yeah,
very little resources for creativity, inspiration, love, or connection and wholeness and oneness.
that's right.
And hurt
That's
people hurt people.
that's right. That's right. Yeah. And I was not able to fully digest at the time what it might look like to experience what you just described with that woman. I didn't have a framework for what that might look like. I had the time, because I was full of these wounds and I had that paradigm of poverty and competition. And I felt so judged,
Yes, 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 yes.
judged
Oh, in my
constantly.
past, she would have just been a bitch.
That's right. That's right. And
Serious.
just cut, 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 cut. I would not have anything to do with her anymore. I wouldn't talk
That's
to her
right. And then
anymore.
you'd say, oh, look, and then it would just cement a story. Well, people judge me for being myself. Then more of
Yes.
those would just continue to line up my experience, which would confirm the validity of the belief. And then I'd just be more separated and more like, oh my God, I can't trust or rely on anybody. I just have to do life on my own, which was
Right.
exactly how I was, apart from
Yeah.
boyfriends, really, and a few
Yeah.
close
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. And that's how, one of the ways that hyper patriarchal, hyper masculinist, um, that sort of white supremacist, that like really like macho,
Yeah,
bravado thing, that hardcore competitive thing, that's the
absolutely.
what keeps women separated from each other. Because a lot of times when
Oh,
people talk about love, they think we're only talking about intimate partners, like relational, like sexual partners or romantic partners. But no, what you just described was your interaction between a woman who could be your sister, who could be a colleague, who could be a. But if you
oh,
were stuck in that old paradigm,
oh gosh.
you guys would have been bitches to each other.
I
You would
can't,
have got
great.
right. You would have just pointed fingers at each other. You would have torn each other
I
down
know,
while
I
you were
know.
tearing yourself down.
And she's going to be
That's
watching
what
this,
they
which is
do.
gorgeous. And I know, and she knows, that I mean, my heart exploded with love last night after our interaction, exploded with love, you know. And it's not just love for her, it's love for this system, it's love for this way of life, it's a love for humanity, it's a love for all of our joint evolution. It's, every
Yeah.
time we up level our own state of consciousness and our own love, we're up leveling the vibration for the whole planet and humanity. And is there any better mission to be on than that?
I can't think of one. I mean, because this model, the quantum freedom model, the supreme love model, these are models for healing from the root, healing from the root. And I can't think of anything better to do. Like you said, constantly on Thriver TV, there's nothing else to do. Keep thriving, keep growing, keep healing, keep up leveling, because there isn't really anything else to do. When I think about the relationships, romantic, platonic, social, familial, that have been exposed, been healed, been up-leveled with me, been connected with me, and some of them have gone away from me.
Yes.
Correct. Because I have up-leveled my internal space. It's stunning and it's amazing that I used to think that I needed to control my external space or get food and nourishment, approval, love, security from my external space to feel good on my internal space, or to feel valid, or to feel whole. This model that we're talking about, that we are constructing and that we're contributing to the world and that we are using ourselves, shifts that all around. I now realize the more I heal my internal wounds and claim my unclaimed parts and my unhealed parts, the more my external space shifts and moves to accommodate my health.
Correct.
I don't have to go out vying for attention or looking for jobs or looking for men or looking for friends or looking for stuff to do. I don't.
No.
I can be whole and healed and just go out about my life, my business, and I draw in what is complementary to my now established core, my now established declaration of self, my now clear and persistent boundaries, my now beneficent and mellifluous narrative structures. I don't have to be anything other than the conduit of myself. And the differences between those two ways of thinking, Melanie, are night and day.
Oh, gosh. Well, there's a lot of extraneous stuff to try and control when you're trying to control the external. There's countless people, situations, events in the world. And it's infinite. And, I used to be so OCD. I was constantly chasing, monitoring, balls in the air, couldn't drop that one, this one, that one, the other one. And oh my God, it was like 100 people living in my head trying to control it all.
Oh, yeah.
We know that. Many women are in that. When we lose that, it's like, I like it like the thing about, like if you were public speaking and if you were to turn up on stage and you're like monitoring all the crowd and going, oh, what's their energy? How do I need to appeal to them? That guy in the third row, he looks this, and that woman in the second row, how do I, if you just stand and deliver from your core, from your beingness, the source flowing through you as you, everything just transforms in your space.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is what I want to offer, Melanie, because I'm listening to you and I get you. Because you're my sister. Like, you're my soul sister. We're colleagues. We're connected. I get it.
We are soul sisters.
We are. And I'm thinking about the women who are just coming into these projects and just coming into the Thriver community, who are just coming in and they realize that they're broken. They realize they have a problem. But what we're talking about is way, way up here and they're not there yet. Fine. Listen to this like 1,000 times. Watch this video 1,000 times and keep going over and over and over until we break through. But until then, let's bring it down. Here's what I'm going to say to the women who are listening, right? The women who are listening, here's all you need to think about and know right now. When you feel triggered in your body, just begin to notice that trigger. There's so much numbness and unconsciousness. We got to help women to wake up, feel again, feel your body. If you feel tightness in your shoulders, if you notice your jaws clenching, if you notice your hands balled into fists at your side, if you notice butterflies and knots in your belly, if you notice a shortness of breath, whatever your body's doing, be with your body. Take your awareness into your body. And basically the thing to do is stop, drop in, and be. That's the first step. That's the beginning. That's what I really want to convey. Practice, practice, practice. Being very, very present with your body. Because I
100%
learned this now.
correct. Janine is
I
100% correct. So take this on people hugely. Hugely.
I felt so numb and disconnected from my body. I literally had to learn how to be present with my body. It was like teaching a baby
Yes.
how to walk.
Yes.
Standing the baby up. The legs are wobbly. The baby falls down. The baby's lazy. The baby hasn't practiced that muscle. Stand the baby up. So ladies, you might want to quit, or you might not think this is appropriate, or you might not think it's helpful. You might think, what is the point of this? Trust, trust, trust. It's the same way a baby that's used to being carried, that's used to being bounced around, they don't necessarily see a reason for their legs, but their legs are there for a reason. When you see little toddlers and other big kids walking around and running around, you start to realize, oh, my legs are there for a reason. So the same is true for learning your body, being really present with your body. Trust us. You may not know that it's worthy now, like a worthwhile endeavor, but it's so worthwhile. You won't be able to graduate to what Melanie and I are talking about if you don't learn to be with your body first.
Yes.
And learn how to feel what you're feeling and not neglect and ignore what you're feeling.
Yes.
Stop what you're feeling when you're feeling. I'll give you an example. I was really, really enamored and in love with a man. And he had been in love with me. But when I didn't think of myself as worthy of him. That's really what happened. So when the second narc came in, I detached from that man that I actually truly loved and respected, and I went for the narc. He was feeding all of my wounds. What ended up happening was that relationship, of course, with the narc ended, and I went back to try to find the healthy guy, but he was long gone. Yes. And I Googled him, and I saw an announcement that he had gotten married. Yes. And what happened in that moment is a really huge rush of heat just flooded my body. Like a hot red flash of lava going through my body. And it was one of the first times I trusted what my coach said. And instead of going out to get a drink with a girlfriend, yes, to go shopping, to go get some chocolate, maybe to go have sex with somebody else, yes, maybe to go even work out or run, even trying to do something healthy. No. Yes. I stopped. And I dropped into my body. I took my awareness into my body where all that red, flashing, pulsating light was. And it was everywhere, Mel. I felt so much sadness, anger, shock, yes, desperation. And being with my body and with myself meant not self-medicating, not dashing out of my house to go and find someone else to be with. It was me, big Janine, being with little Janine, that was crying out, no, we ruined everything. We're not worthy. I'm not good enough. It was me sitting still in my house. Yes, it'll never happen for me. I'm not good enough. I blew it. I ruined everything. Yeah. I had to be with little me that was showering me with this red pulsating vibrations all over my body. Being with myself, calling up that unhealed part and beginning the practice of speaking wisdom, comfort, connection, yes, affirmation, peace to that part of me, as big me. That was one of the first times I got how important it is to learn to feel what I am feeling and not try to change it, not try to judge it,
Absolutely.
not try to push it away, not try to make it someone else's responsibility,
Yes.
not try to pass it off, not try to quell it with food or music or running or working
Yes.
out. Be present. That's one of the first vivid memories I have
Wow.
of what it means to be present and not
Hugely.
self-avoid, not self-avoid,
Yes. Yes.
not disassociated, I'm not checking out, I'm not blacking out,
Yes.
and to not collapse boundaries. My boundaries were, I am not going to allow anything or anyone to disrupt this emotional torrent. I am connected with myself. No one else and nothing else is significant or important. My boundary says me first.
Yes. Yes.
And that's what I want to convey. The first step is to feel what you are feeling, even if it terrifies you.
Especially if it terrifies you.
Sure.
Totally true. And body open and breathing. You know, when
Yes.
we contract, when we're trying to be with ourselves, that's when we come out of that subconscious connection and our ego can jump in, hit those wounds and really hurt us with those stories. So it's so true. If you have body open and breathing, and you don't have to work it out at this stage.
Right.
Just be with it.
Just
So
be.
true. And that self-soothing is so about, you know, I used to, God, in recovery, you know, life and death recovery. For me, it was, you know, Mel, I love you. I'm proud of you. I'm here with you. I'm never leaving again.
Mm-hmm.
We talk to ourselves how we would a 3 or a 4-year-old that we adore.
Mm-hmm. And the key is to do it when you need it.
Oh, God.
When
Oh,
you
God.
need it.
Oh, God.
When when little Mel or little Janine is screaming, crying out,
Absolutely.
that red flash wave of light was little me screaming out my deepest fears of abandonment, rejection, loss, poverty, disconnection.
The only
And
chance you ever had was gone. Blew it.
the only done, blew
And
it.
women can be
Little,
so about that. You know, when a man's in their craw, it's like, oh my God, without him, I'm done. I'm done.
and little me believed that.
Yeah, of course.
Wholeheartedly.
I believe that over every man I split up with until I healed.
Until you healed, until I, Big Janine, the truest iteration of me, used my Christ consciousness, my God lineage
Yes.
in relation to that little part of me.
Yes.
That little part of me was running the show. That little part of me believed it, hook, line, and sinker.
Yes.
And because I was not interrupting that survival program, because I was not interrupting that belief system with divine order, with the highest truth, then the little me said, well, then I'm right. I'm right. I've ruined it. I can never have love. No one will ever be with me. Until I was in my warrior goddess servant queen position.
Yes.
Stable in my position.
Yes.
To talk to little Janine, little me, and say, my darling, no, that is not correct. I will tell you the way. This is actually how it is. And be present with that part. I wouldn't have done the healing. So what I would say to women is use your legs. Little babies, use your legs. Your legs are good for things. Your legs are good for walking. Your legs are good for running. Your legs are good for pedaling. Your legs are good for kicking. I mean, your legs are good for swimming. Use your legs. Your legs right now for you, if you're starting first out, your legs are your feels. You're feeling. So that means it's a lifestyle shift. It means wherever you are in your world, if you're in your grocery store, if you're in a classroom, if you're in your office building, if you're in your bedroom alone, if you're in your bedroom with someone else, if you feel triggered, your goal is to stop, drop, take your awareness into your body and feel what you feel. First step, just be with you. Trust me. First step.
Totally. And then the path, you know, when you get on a quantum tools, which is Quantum Freedom Healing, and also the tool that you've developed now, you know, whichever way you choose to go. What happens for me is it's rare now, but what happens, you know, if I get a trigger, my first thing is rather if I get an urge to go grab some food or whatever, no.
Mm-hmm.
Body open, breathe, be with it. And then I say to myself, honey, I'm here with you. We don't have to work this out right now. Just know I love you and I adore you. Soon as we
Yeah.
can, soon as we get a few minutes, we're going to go do
Yeah.
a quantum freedom healing on this. And how awesome is this going to be? Because
Yeah.
now we're going to get free of another wound and we're going to go up to an even higher level of
Yeah.
joy. So,
Yeah.
yay. That's the
That's
path now. That's the path. The path used to be, oh my God, like you said, oh my God, I'm no good, I'm useless, oh my God, this just confirms that I'm unlovable, I'm flawed, I'm defective, I'm never going to get well, I've done all this work, but yet this is still happening to me. Why am I needy again? This person is no good for me, but oh my God, I feel like I need them because I know I'm worthless. Oh my God, that merry-go-round. And then it would be alcohol, cigarettes, the wrong men, workaholism, going for a 5K run on a treadmill,
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
workaholism,
Spinning, 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 spinning,
spinning,
spinning, spinning.
spinning, spinning.
Just spin out in a cycle of pain.
That's right.
And
And then blowouts of ridiculous addictive behavior where it would be, oh, I'm going to have a bottle of Bacardi.
yeah,
Or, I'm going to go out dancing to 5 o'clock in the morning and get an hour sleep before work or whatever.
yeah.
Just,
And I want to say to our sisters, some of the culture that has been built up around womanhood and that we contribute to will lie to you and tell you that the
totally.
bottle of Bacardi is chic, that the bottle of wine is you just letting off steam. It'll tell you that culture and that paradigm will say it's absolutely normal and healthy for you to go out dancing all night,
Yes.
every night,
Yes.
because you need to just have a break. You need that
Yes.
stress buster. You need that
Yes.
stress reliever.
Yes.
Or how about this, Mel? I don't know if you did this. Or it's absolutely normal for you to stay on your phone, on this phone with girlfriends and gossip and complain and
Yes.
commiserate in misery
Yes.
for hours
Yes. Yes.
about how he's a dog, about how there are no good men out there anyway, about how alone we are, about how sad we are, about how much people take us for granted, about how much people walk all over us, how much people use us, how much people take us. Oh God, the gossiping, the wine, the sex, the arbitrary random dates, the
Yes.
exercising, the workaholism.
Yes.
It's all a trick.
Oh
It's all.
my God. And mind you, I love a wine and a dance.
Hey,
But
me
that,
too. But it's so much better when you have a wine and a dance and a date when you're healthy.
oh yeah, and when you're feeling great and you want fun and it's not
Yeah.
self-avoiding. I have a golden rule and I've had it with myself for a long, long time. If I'm triggered and I need to do internal work, there are no outer substitutes that take away from that
Yeah.
necessity.
Yeah.
It's like when I'm clean and clear and feeling awesome, well then yeah, I can play and have fun as much as anybody.
Abs- and
Anybody on my Facebook page would
play.
see that, like,
That's the best time to play. That I definitely don't want to convey this message that
no.
girl culture or like feminine structures for socializing and for having fun are out of the picture. No way. What I'm saying is using those things as a substitute for your healing won't work. But when you are up leveled and cleared out, have the wine. You're conscious. You're having the wine, you're having the drink, you're going on the trip, you're making love, you're starting the business, you're like creating the product from a space of power, of consciousness,
Yes.
of deep intention, of clarity. Yeah, have the wine. Absolutely dance all night because you're making that choice and that decision not out of brokenness. You're making that choice and that decision out of abundance. You're saying, I'm so
Correct.
filled up. I'm so solid inside. And I'm so
Yes.
filled like authentically, not because of those weird, crazy positive affirmations, but because sincerely your roots are healed. And the positive
Yes.
affirmations, you can say them in truth.
Yes.
And you can have the wine with livelihood. And you can have like the
Yes.
business plan without burning out or without doing it because you think it's something you should be doing. You're working from an authentic place.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
have
And sometimes
fun.
that means you are up to 3 o'clock in the morning because you're on such a buzz, but you might
That's
sleep until
right.
10.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
The
it
point
doesn't
is,
matter.
none of it matters. And the point is, when you are operating from your fullness, from your most self-actualized and authentic space, there is no limit to what you can do. There is no limit to the kind of fun and excitement and sensuality and like positivity and power that you can generate and you can produce as a woman when you're doing it awake and whole.
Yes.
When you're sleepwalking through your life, literally, when you are sleepwalking through your life, when you have gaps in your memory, when you are dependent on other people to heal you, to accept you, to affirm you, it's not a good idea to have the alcohol. It's not a good idea to go out on the date.
Gosh, no.
It's not a good
You're
idea
going to
to go
make really terrible choices. You're going to
Yeah.
make really terrible choices
Yeah.
from that place.
Yeah.
You're going to sleep with the wrong people. You're going to say the wrong things. You're going to conduct yourself in ways that are going to bring more shame and unworthiness.
Yeah. It's recreating the story when you're spinning out like that. So I am definitely advocating for the wine and the mimosas, and I'm definitely advocating for the dancing and the fun and the beautifying and the adorning and the connecting and the communion. Absolutely, I'm advocating it for women who are awake, who are able to make the conscious decision about how to use their time, their energy, their money, their body, their resources, their home from a place of power and consciousness. Yeah, then do your girl. Do your girl culture to the hilt when you are awake and when you are healed from the inside out.
I really want to put this too, because I know that this is a common thing in both of our communities. It will be when people, I was like this at the start too, said, I just want to be healed now. I want to, so even when we decide to do the inner work and we go, right, I'm going to smash it out. I'm going to get into it. I'm going to do as much as I can because I want to be healed now. Now, a lot of us are immediately like that. However, you know that the journey is, like I said, it was last night I had a trigger again that came up for me.
Sure.
So the journey is for all of us. This is ongoing life dedication, which you even get excited about because the gorgeous thing is we learn at we have to get at any part of the journey. We say, you know what? I'm actually going to love and approve of you right here, right now, wins and all. So whether or not I've got 1,000 internal beliefs that are just rubbish, I did. I'm sure I have more than that. You probably did too. Or whether I've got 2 or 3. Or whether I'm going to get triggered next week and there's something I need to self-reflect and up-level. This has been our whole problem is we've had this belief, I've got to be perfect now. Unless I'm healed now, I can't be loved. If I'm not healed now, law of attraction is going to kick my butt because I'm going to be so aligned in all the wrong crap. And what we understand on this, I hear so many people, oh my God, I'm so terrified. I want to get healed now because if I don't, law of attraction is going to kick my butt. Like I'm going to attract everything I don't want. Do you know what? That is not true. What is true is when we go, I'm going to love and approve of myself right now and I'm going to dedicate to my inner being. Yeah, I'm going to get triggered. Oh, yeah, I'm going to have lots of aides, angels in disguise, posing as nasty people, coming into my experience that are going to hit my triggers. That's going to keep coming. And I have to welcome and bless that because that's all a part of my unraveling, my unfolding, and my healing. But the difference now will be, because I'm awake, I love your word, let's awaken, let's be awake. Now that I'm awake, now that I get my trigger and I go, whoa, gee, rather than me trying to get love, approval, security, and survival from outside of myself, I might excuse myself. I'm going to go and do my self-work. I'm going to unravel and heal it. And my clarity is going to start unfolding. Life's not here to kick my butt. Life's not here to attack me, smash me, and annihilate me. It's here to show me what I need to heal. And when I can get grateful for that, and when I start taking the sovereignty of my body into my consciousness and my accountability, and I'm going to work from that level, I'm going to be perfectly safe, no matter actually what's going on.
Perfectly safe. Yes. And what I say to women, and Melanie, I co-sign everything that you said. What I say to women who say to me in the project, Janine, when is this going to work for me? How long is this going to take? How long is this going to take? I've learned to say this thing. It's 5-5-5. It takes 5 minutes for you to feel better. I can coach you right now on how to feel better in 5 minutes.
Wow.
I got it. 5 minutes for you to feel better.
Yes.
Okay? If you want to do better, it'll take about 5 or 6 months. You need to learn methodology, you need to learn practices. It'll take you 5 or 6 months to do better. Doing better is about making different choices, making different decisions. It's about learning the methodology to go in and do the healing. Now, to be better, to embody fully and erect yourself in your goddess, warrior, servant, queen, it takes about 5 to 6 years. It's five,
Yeah.
five, five.
Yeah.
5 minutes to feel better. You can feel better right now. I can teach you, and you can teach people I know, Mel,
Yeah.
how to feel better right
Yeah.
now. It's
Yeah.
meditation. It's dropping into your body to release some pressure. 5 minutes to feel
Yes.
better.
Yes. Yes.
It
Yes.
takes about 5 to 6 months to do better,
Yes.
to make different choices, different decisions, to learn the methodology for up leveling, for clearing. It takes about 5 or 6 months, okay? It takes about 5 or 6 years to be better, to come up into a beingness that is all your own. And is it worth the investment? Is it worth the journey? Is it worth the commitment? Are you kidding me? Yes. Someone in my community said to me, well, Janine, in 5 years, I'm going to be 50. And I said, you're going to be 50 anyway. You're going to be 50 anyway. Why
That's
not be 50?
perfect.
Yeah, why not be 50 and be whole
Oh
and be
yeah.
being a goddess, warrior, servant, queen? Be fully embodying your supreme lover identity. Why not get to 50 that way as opposed to you're going to be 50 anyway, is what I said.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, I've just turned
Yes.
50 and I must say I adore Goddess Warrior energy, and
Yes.
well, at 40, oh my God, I was anything but, you know, and I don't think I grew up till my late 40s. I didn't become an
And
adult to my late
yeah,
40s.
yeah, yeah, I get it completely. I get it totally. I don't believe at all anymore that chronological age has anything to do with
Oh,
anything. Not at all. It has nothing to do with anything
no,
at all.
no, no.
Because I have met women who in their 20s have got this. They
Oh,
have got this. They understand their body. They do
same.
clearing. They go in. They're
Yes,
somatically like clean. They are up leveled. They are clear. They are awake. They are conscious. They are
absolutely.
reverberating in feminine energy. They are in their adult center. And I know women who are 75 and 80 who are bitter and mean and nasty and resentful and angry and
Yes,
broken and
yes,
wounded.
yes.
So what is this chronological age? What is
Oh,
this? Who knows?
it's
I don't
nothing.
even care.
And I've
It,
seen women in their late 70s do the
yeah.
work and drop into their goddess and their radiance. And there's one lady I talk about in my webinars, Dot, who, she ended up with her gorgeous lover, after 4 narcissistic men. And, now they
Mm,
travel the world and she's learning piano and she's writing a book and she's in her late
mm,
70s and reconnected with her family and the children, grandchildren she'd been alienated from. And the only reason is because she changed her inner identity off this trajectory of, I'm trying to fix and save everybody who's broken so I can get love, which was
yeah.
such a setup for narcissists.
Yeah. Yeah.
She
Yeah.
changed and healed all of that inner
Yeah.
trauma and opened up to be flowing through her who she really is. And then
That's
her
right.
whole life did a 180-degree turn in her
Oh,
late
yeah.
70s. So it is
Boom.
never, ever, ever, our divinity awaits when we get those parts of ourselves out of the way that have been fractured.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And it doesn't matter what time it is. I just
Yeah.
want to say that to the community. Don't look at your clock. Don't look at your calendar. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. If you are breathing, if you are alive and breathing, and you know that you have pain in your soma that is unhealed, if you don't feel at ease in your body, if you don't feel still, if you don't feel anchored, if you don't feel clear, clean, strong in your body, you can heal that. You can get help. It's not ever too late. And it's not too early. I work on a college campus, and there are some women around me who are 19, 20, 21, and they'll say,
Yeah.
well, maybe that's for later in life. And I say, I asked some of the women, are you happy? Often, just that very simple question will cause them to break into tears.
Wow.
Very simple. Are you?
Wow.
And a lot of the women who are 19, 20, 21 have felt the effects of relational and social terrors, being inundated with messaging that encourages body hate, body shaming.
Yes, 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 yes.
You're not thin enough. You're not pretty enough. You're not tall enough. You're not light enough. Any number of things. And they are not in a space as 19, 20, 21-year-old women where they're especially clear about naming the thing that ails them. But all I have to do is ask them the question, are you happy? Boom.
Wow.
So you're not too young to heal your unhealed parts.
Oh,
And you're not
gosh,
too
no.
old to heal your unhealed parts. There is no time. There are no limitations. Forget the clock. Forget the calendar. Get the help. That's what I say. 555.
I'm really passionate about that generation. And what I love seeing too is that as women, when we lead the way for our children, and we're not lecturing and prescribing and we're not forcing them, we're just simply being that up-leveled experience ourselves. What I've noticed, I actually do with my Quanta Freedom Healing, I've set a strong intention that any limiting belief that my son has epigenetically taken on from me, as I up-level, he gets the automatic up-level. And it's amazing. I know. Like, how lucky is he?
He is so fortunate.
He doesn't even have to do the work. So, every time I've worked on myself in as far as like radiance or success or being able to, whatever it is, I just go, oh my God, Zach just went up a notch there. He just went up a notch because it's ridiculous. And I'm like, and I'm like, do you realize how lucky you are, child, to have me as your mother?
I hope he does. No.
He does. He's just gorgeous, and I'm sure, in another lifetime he's done it for me or something like that. But, we can do this for our children because I'm passionate about when he has children that they don't have to go through what I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, and he doesn't have to live and the lives my forebears lived, the pain and the trauma that they had to get through.
Yes.
Enough.
Yeah.
Enough. The buck's got to stop.
Yeah. Yeah. When you talk about intergenerational inheritance in your work, and I've started to talk about it and think about it now, when you think about epigenetics and how we have this biological and emotional and spiritual lineage that connects us through the generations.
It's huge.
People we did not know, but who bequeathed us are imprinting story upon story upon story upon story. It blew my mind. I realized I could see some of my old framing and my old systems in my grandmother and stories of my great grandmother, whom I did not know, and great aunties whom I did not know.
Yes.
And I started to get clear about the ties that bind. And I started to get clear about how necessary it is to do cord cutting. I needed to cut some of those ties to old patterns of believing and old patterns of surviving and old patterns of defending and old patterns of seeking, chasing, desperately looking. And when I realized that I had those links and that I could disconnect from them, that I could heal them, it was just another level of power, another level of power.
It's huge. And it's beautiful for our children. It's so beautiful for our children. It's just, and I believe my son wouldn't have actually even made it if I hadn't have up-leveled. He had so much trauma that played out in his life with self-destructive, self-annihilating addictions that were actually going to take him out. And when
Oh
I
my gosh.
healed, he healed. And when I healed him through me, he healed. We've got so
Mm.
much power to heal our children and our worlds. We're women. We have wombs. We
Women.
are creators.
Yeah.
This is what got taken away 5,000 years ago. And, for men in the community, Janine and I are in a deep sisterhood. This is what this conversation is about. Please don't think that we are alienating you or dismissing you in any shape or form, because healing the divine feminine is so important for healing the divine masculine as well.
That's
We're all in this together. And
right.
we've all
There's no
been
separation.
separated from each other. We have been put at war with each
Yeah.
other, the divine
That's not
feminine,
real.
the divine masculine. And
That's
us
right.
talking about stepping up into our goddess, high priestess role is not about alienating us or getting the upper hand over the divine masculine. It's about us being able to come into our being and our bodies to connect in divine ways with the divine masculine, to heal
Yes.
all of us. And I really want everybody to get that message.
Yes, yes. Please receive that message. There's so many ways that we need to hear what you're saying, Mel, over and over and over again to break through some of that old programming that we've been taught that teaches us that, men are from Mars, women are from Venus,
Oh
we don't
gosh.
understand each other, we're not connected to
Oh
each other,
gosh.
we're not ever bound to communicate properly or work synergistically, that it's takes so much effort and so much work, and it's going to involve sacrifice and pain, and like we're not going to feel fully satisfied being collaborative with each other. That's not true. So the message that you're communicating and you're relaying about the divine masculine, divine feminine as being divinely partnered and intentionally
Absolutely.
divinely partnered and connected, needs to be heard over and over. Mel, oh my gosh, I just realized my battery is dying. Oh my
And we need to
gosh.
go. We've been on this for so long, and like we just do that. But Janine, look, thank you so, so much. Now, before you go, please, how do people find your stuff? Tell them.
Yeah. Go to JanineStaples.com, go to the SupremeLoveProject.com, and you can find information about me as a scholar, as an educator. You can find information about the programs and the support systems that we offer in the project. And you can also find us on Facebook. Go to the Supreme Love Project, just search for it on Facebook, and it's a closed group. Ask for an invitation in, and I will open the door.
Bless.
Melanie, thank you so much for having me on Thriver TV. This has been my pleasure and honor.
Thank you. And the same to you. Okay, bye bye. Lots of love, darling.
Bye.
Bye.